Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
Greetings, this is Ras Sekou. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Ras Sekou said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it's Exodus. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I too. Empress on the front line, we need you.
Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Empress Manel, and a young scientist. Oh, you're wrong. Universally unfold, be told. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yo, blazing fire, yeah man, this is Ras out of Belize, and the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, right? Yeah man, we blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Ras say that, blazing fire, lion boy.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes, wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Trent of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice, because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Yeah, Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie the first. Let me people go embrace many.
Well, even if the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, but to the coming while we stand tall, I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets them flood, but when the hurricane blow down their wall, I'll be by your side and me now but think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, that light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, to the coming while we stand tall, I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see their city streets them flood, when the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me now but think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people. Maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Banso, aka the Chasmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Reading Ras on the Front Line. Welcome to the Reading Ras on the Front Line, part of our Lion Voice network series, and one of our well-beloved programs where we have our beloved elder, a legend in the Rastafari publishing. So this was a divine connection. The Reading Ras, Frontline Books. You know, I am a product of Frontline Books, reading many Frontline books when I was a young undergraduate at Howard University. And I'm now proud to have the elder that was responsible for I&I education in part here as a supporter of the Lion Voice Network through Frontline Books. And we're going to talk about the book sales during this episode as well. I just reasoned with the elder and he said that not as many sales are coming through. So I'm going to really, we're going to have a reason in Lion Pride, because we want to make sure that, first of all, that we're building our true berries. We're buying physical books. Second of all, that we're supporting one of the primary institutions of knowledge in our community. So, and even our African brethren and sistren, we got to figure out how the item can start ordering maybe in bulk as a community from Frontline Books, and we ship these books to the different African regions, because I know there's not a lot of Pan-African books. I see Botswana in the chat. Big up yourself, the Home Office, all I&I, Botswana, Lion Pride family. So, we're going to have that reasoning, because as the item see, the Gideon is read. I'm not even going to wait
too long, let me bring in I and I co-host so we can have a little reasoning. Royal blessing, Ras Sekou.
Yes, sir. Greetings and blessings to my dear
Ras-
brother,
Yes,
Ras
yes.
Selassie. Yes, sir. Give
Um,
thanks to the community. Much love. As we celebrate Their Majesty Haile Selassie the first 60th anniversary visit
yes,
to the Caribbean, where he touched down in Trinidad firstly, then Barbados, then Jamaica. Jamaica, he had a very upstanding arrival, as also Trinidad had a great one, but not comparable with our Rastafari brothers and sisters in Jamaica who made it known, and their Majesty was very touched when he saw the amount of Rastafari people who were there in Parasido's airport to see him. So it took a Rasta bongo, Natty man, who the High Majesty called, no other than the great legend Mortimer Planner, called us
yes,
who we call Kumi. So
yes,
yeah, so so we have to remember that we have to remember that 60 years fly really fast, But this is a reality. So we give thanks that the brethren and sisters in Ayamaka, Jamaica, were able to have a nice celebration. I think they had one in Trinidad too, maybe
yes,
Barbados and some
yes,
other
yes,
places.
yes, yes.
So
And I,
so
I
we
and I
thank
wanna
God for that.
I wanna big up iYard Radio, one of our partners in Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media. He had a stream on YouTube. You can see the stream of the event in Jamaica. Very extensive, of speakers, everything professional, grade stream. Also, there was a stream at the Haile Selassie High School had a symposium. Another professional stream, Lion Voice Network, was one of the sponsors of that stream. So Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media is really starting to step up, in terms of giving us coverage over these things that are happening within our community. And I just want to take time to big up all of the ones who organized the Naya Bingi House, along with other Rastafari organization. I know RMO was there, heavy, other Rastafari organizations. Massive, massive big up in terms of everyone doing what they need to do. So I just want to give that acknowledgement. Now, the item know we have one of the great geopolitical analysis elders, because every elder have their lane, every elder have their special. Some elders is straight prophecy, some elders is farming, some is the mystic, mother nature. But Ras Sekou, when you're talking about Ras Sekou Tafari, you're talking about someone who is politically astute, geopolitically aware, and the ongoing crisis continues in the Middle East or Northeast Africa, Persia. We see what's happening. The Straits of Hormuz remain closed, which means that the economic pain on the way for the planet is going to be tremendous this summer season for the West. I know summertime, those months are winter in the other parts of the world, but for the West, the summertime, which is a big traveling season, heavily impacted. The price of diesel already is making many independent truck owners have to park. And we have in our Lion Pride on Patreon, we have a brethren with a Rastafari owned trucking company. So I'm going to try to see if we can get him on the platform to talk about what's happening with the supply chain. But Ras Sekou, give us your geopolitical analysis as to what's happening right now.
But right now, we find ourselves in a world on the brink of a third world war. It may not happen, but there's a possibility that it can happen. And you have been singing it and chanting it for a long while. when other people wasn't having a vision of it. You foresee it that that it was a possibility over a year now. So we are this junction, which culminated with the war, starting a war by choice that the United Snakes and Israel is not real. They combined together to attack what we now know as Iran, which was formerly at one time called Persia, great empire, over 3,500 years old. And it's history, if I think those who run in the administration had they done their due diligence, homework, they would have realized that no one, no country, no empire goes in to Iran and wins. Even if you win, you lose. Because eventually those people historically who have gone in there, the Mongols, they end up turning, after winning, they end up turning to and accepting the cultural value system of the people of Persia and Iran. Similarly, Russia was in there right after with Stalin, right after World War II. He with the force of international pressure plus internal pressure in Iran, they had to leave after a period of time. So Iran, even Alexander the Great, um, Alexander, they all came to Persia, to Iran, and they never was able to conquer Iran for any long. Those who conquered for a long time, like after a while, they got beaten back out. So and then there were those who come into Iran, they won, like Islam came in there, and Islam and the people those people they never was always Muslims, they were not always Islam, and they eventually they started practicing Islam about 13 1400 years ago, and now at this point in time, those people, the Arabs who came in there, did not Arabize the Iranians. In fact, the Iranians is who basically included their culture on the Arabs at the end of the day. So they accepted Islam, but Persia, Iran was able to add their own mix to Islam. So things like the Sufism are areas that come out of Persia, of Iran. Things like the Shiite sect of Islam that came out of Iran, and that came out also because of Hussein and the brother-in-law of
Yes, yes,
Muhammad and so on. But the reality of it is they didn't do their homework to realize historically, and history tells us of our past, present, and future. So
yes,
once you look, if you look at what transpired previously, and you will realize that Iran is have the geographical terrain
yes.
of Iran is very hard for anyone to go in there, because once you
Mountain.
come in there, you have problems, because you have Afghanistan on one side, you have
Yeah,
parts of Russia on one side, you have Pakistani and so on, and all these. So it's hard to really go in there, and it's high mountains.
yes,
Iran is at least 3 times bigger than Iraq, which is big.
yes,
And I would say 3 times bigger than places like Britain, United Kingdom, bigger than France, bigger than Germany. So it's about the size, I would say, is approximately the size of Western Europe.
yes.
Um, so it's about the size of Western Europe, with approximately, I would say, 100 million people. at the last census, probably around 93 million, not too far off for over 100 million people. So you're talking about a large terrain, a large geographical space. You're talking about a large population. So what has happened is that that war is a war for petroleum, it's a war for energy. You
Yeah.
know, most wars, because the direction of the administration now, current administration in the US, is one of piracy. Is one of it reminds me of when you read history of Hawkins and Francis Drake and Blackbeard and these people who just was going out and seizing people things, you
Yes.
know, in the name of the Queen of England and the King of England, the crown. So, so this is what is happening. It's not just only about nuclear is the least of the importance on the list, right? It's not nuclear to some extent yet because it may affect Israel, because Israel sees um, Iran as a threat to a war, a threat of in terms of war, but it's not just um, nuclear. It's bigger than nuclear. It has to do when imperialist countries, empires and so on goes to other countries, it's basically about finance. It's about money. It's about how we could control your resources as a people. Because America, it's like this is a new era of neo-colonialism. Then, because the empires, whether it's Britain, which has basically in its last, it just need the last nail to pong in the coffin for Britain and France, right? That'll tell you where they are in terms of white supremacist countries. Germany committed suicide with the whole thing with the war in Ukraine by allowing the United States to destroy the pipeline. So it's and preventing them from trading with Russia, which has a large amount of oil and gas and so on. So yeah, so these are some of the things that are happening with the war, the whole war that Iran is on a winning streak right now, and because if you don't research your opponent, you could end up in a lot of problems. So what with all the big armaments and so on that America has, and then on one of the things because of the economy of the country, and America is about $37 trillion in debt, and it probably be no more right now. It might be about 39, 40 trillion dollars in debt because of the war, additional costs that's going on with the war that was started on February 28th, which is
Yes.
a war of choice.
Yes.
You know,
Are you seeing on your screen there, Sir Alpha Lima Tango? He's saying something very crucial. 45% of China's crude oil imports transit the Straits of Hormuz. It's about
yes,
disrupting BRICS. So, the item here, I talk about the chessboard, and a lot of us are thinking surface, but this is because I argue, Ras Sekou, that World War III has already started. This
yes,
is work
yes.
because if you impose a blockade, that's an act of war.
That is an act of war.
If
An act
you
of war against the United Nations
charter,
treaty.
yes, yes,
You know,
a war of aggression.
It's a war
Yeah,
of aggression.
the
Well, the war of
North,
aggression started on February 28th.
yes, yes, yes,
Because Iran, you can't be negotiating with any party, and then you attack them during a part of negotiation, and render some kind of accusation that they were going to attack you, which is foolishness. This is not the first or the second. This is about the third time. It's the second time for Iran, but the third in terms of they did the same thing with the I think it was Hezbollah or what's the people out of Gaza.
Hamas.
Hamas, they did the same thing.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is a European that is how Europeans do. If you go back to the plantation, even if you go back to when the when Europeans came here from Europe, mainly from Britain, and they were negotiating with the natives here, what some people call Indians, but but they were basically, some people would more say they were the Amerindians, or
Yes.
and so on. So they were here, and the native the Europeans who came with their greedy self, they telling the people trying to take the people land. And the people are saying, okay, we have enough land in North America here that we could share, which is a fact. We don't have to be greedy with it. Everybody could get a piece of the land. But if you go back to some of the old westerns, they will see how they were dealing.
Yeah.
They were just confiscating land. And because they come from a place, Europe is a place that don't have terrain like that. You ought to
Yes.
be in a little space. So when they come and they see so much land, they went mad. So when they go to when they go to the Red Cloud and sit in Bull and them brothers, the man them say, but you all don't keep you all don't keep your word. So that's why the native came up with, they say, the white man, the pale man speak with forked tongues.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it didn't just started. They've been worked out long time. They don't keep their word. The same way they took Tucson over here, encourage him to come on the boat. And when he go on the boat, the ship, they drunk him and take him back to France in chains,
Yes.
because Napoleon set up the clerk who was his brother-in-law to set up Toussaint. But you don't take a drink from your enemy, and you don't sit down with the enemy to drink. These are things that so we in a state that the war is moving up, because here it is, Iran was on the Strait of Hormuz, and what we know about the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz is a piece of ocean, right? It's very small. It's probably about 34, 34. It's about 40, 40 miles, or what do
Mm-hmm.
you call kilometers.
Yes.
And that is a shallow piece of waterway, but it borders Oman, and it also borders Iran. And so Iran had told them, you see, they don't listen. Iran told them from time, if you all attack us, we are taking the Strait of Hormuz, which is naturally theirs, but we told the charge people to go to places like Panama and go through certain different waterways, that it was going through those waterways free until the attack, which killed the leading cultural and religious leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. So here it is. We had a stage which you predicted, the commencement and the going on of World War II, unless somebody quelled the madness that is going on. And this thing coming through the street, you're talking about 20% of petroleum comes through there, and another 25 to 30% of food resources, in terms of things that gonna help the farmers, which is about now farm people now starting the farm to put the food in the ground. So if you don't, you want to have manure, you want to have you want to have if you don't have manure, then you have fertilizers that come from places like Russia, and from the petroleum, as a byproduct of petroleum, and those some of those states in West Asia, like Saudi Arabia and them, and they make the fertilizer. They don't grow food there because they're in a desert, but because of the petrochemical and the byproducts, they could process
Yes.
fertilizer. So no fertilizers coming in. That means
Yeah.
what? Less food. That
Yeah.
means what? Higher prices.
Yes, yes, and
Yes.
that's why I want to keep saying this, Baba Sekou, because all of our communities need to be in preparation mode right now. This summer, as I said, I think it was last strong. The ships that left right before the war started, February 28th, they have all now reached their
Just
destination.
reach your destination. Just reach your
There,
destination.
but there are
Right?
no ships coming after those ships. You know what I mean?
No.
So
No. No.
or severely decrease. You know, Asia
Yes.
and Europe are gonna feel it first
Well,
because
Europe and Asia already feeling it.
yes,
Right,
yes,
right now in Eastern Asia, a lot of the companies had a shutdown. A lot of people can't have gas to drive their cars or diesel to drive trucks.
yes,
So even here in North America, you're talking about diesel is probably around $9 to $10 now.
exactly.
In places like Arizona and California and those areas, and the trucks that bring your food and so on and supplies, they use diesel.
Exactly.
So we in a whole quagmire in terms of
Yes.
we heading for total disaster if some kind of balance and so on don't come in terms of CNA, we
And
we need to cool off.
I have to tell the lion pride that no one is coming to save us. And
Oh, definitely not.
they are going to destroy the system again to create the global reset to bring the
Yes,
new
yes,
system in necessitates the destruction of the old system, what we know
yes,
as the Bretton Woods
yes,
system that
yes,
came into being after the Second World War, the architecture that His Majesty helped to guide,
yes, yes.
because His Majesty,
And remember,
yeah,
coming out of that years after World War the Brentwood, you had 1973 with the another Iranian what you call war in West Asia, where at the time was basically everybody talk about it in terms of Middle East, but you
yes,
had a big war, and America came in
yes,
after because Saudi Arabia didn't have the lackey that they had now. He had King Faisal, and he
yes,
was using the oil money and the oil as a what do you call uh, to squeeze the world and to squeeze Israel. So he
yes,
took the price of oil up in around September or so of 1973. Uh, and what was going on at the time was that Israel continued as a colony, as a proxy for U.S. imperialism and for Western imperialism, because it was we got to understand or understand how Israel came into being. Israel came into being out of World War One,
yes,
1914 to 1918. So when we look at that, we have to look at why the war started, Prime Minister, and why Israel came into being. Israel came into being because it was being pushed away. Because the whole of Western Europe basically had a lot of Jews, whether it's in Russia, which is more eastern and so on, in Britain, in Germany, France, and all these places had a lot of Jews at the time
yes,
living there, but they were always under attack, as you know. The Jews are always under attack because they are known as good merchants, good businessmen, good business people, right? But the Christian, white people, never really tolerated them because of their religion, right? But most of the Jews that they in 1897, thereabout, a man called Theodor Hertz, a Jew
yes,
living in Bad, Switzerland. He's the one came up with it and coined the word Zionism.
mm,
Yeah, and when he came up with the concept that the Jews and God have a special thing going on, because God say to Israel that this piece of land, which is called Palestine, that is for the Jews according to the Zionists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is really Zionism is not even a religion. It's not even is what it is a concept of um Jewish hegemony.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? It's Jewish
Education
nationalism.
family. We're
It's
going
Jewish.
there.
Is what do you call? What do you say, my brother?
No, I said you're giving up education. I'm just making the ones them know. You know, we're blessed. We're getting a proper education, and this is gonna tie into the books of the month. So we're gonna get to our 3 books of the month, which are seminal Rastafari books. A lot of them speaking about this particular time that we're living in. So we're just setting the stage. If you are watching, let us know where you're watching from. I see my brother from Botswana asking about Nigeria, Sudan. We're going to get to all of that because those conflicts are being funded from external sources. So the reason that we spend so much time with the geopolitical and we don't spend a lot of time on the African conflicts is because we understand that most of these conflicts are being funded and stoked from the external. So we want to go to the root, because remember, Africa's Armageddon is past, you know. As Africans, we really don't have serious problems with each other. The problem that we have is underdevelopment and people using their resources to fund tribalism. Tribalism is being funded. At the same time, this is why you hear on this platform, we say that unity must be funded. In the same way that people are funding divide and rule, I have to fund the unity. There's no sitting on the fence. So our elder is just setting the stage geopolitically for the works that we are going to be discussing today, the books, and then we are going to go into all of that. But we're setting the stage because we're in a prophetic time, and we're getting the history that lays the foundation. Because again, I've always said this leads to the third temple, the rebuilding of the third temple. I know you're going to get there. The knocking down of the Muslim mosque, the Elas mosque, the slaughter of the red heifer. They're waiting on the Messiah to return, and to restore this age, 1,000 years of hegemony for the European colonizer. They've stepped into the shoes of the ancient African Hebrew, and they are trying to force the prophecy to manifest by doing the action, not knowing that the prophecy is only fulfilled through righteousness. You know what I mean? It's only fulfilled through righteousness. This is what Yeshua come and show the world. But continue, Ella.
Yes, only goodness. Yes. So with the concept of what is going on now is rooted, as we say, going back to 1897, they're about with Theodore Herzl, who was the founder of what we now know as Zionism. So from there on, you go to World War I, 1914 to 1918. You had a whole lot of Jews involvement. So the Jews had a lot of money, as you would know, because the Jews are the ones who finance the slave trade, right? The Jews are the ones who were in Spain. They were the ones who Isabella and them went to, because Isabella and them didn't have no money because they had spent years fighting out the Moors who were in Spain for
Isabella
over
and
seven.
Ferdinand.
Isabella and Ferdinand.
The
They're the ones who will finance.
blessed children of the Vatican at the time,
Yes,
Rome. Yes,
yes.
continue.
So so they were the ones who through the Colombo, Christopher Colon, he was going to traveling from Portugal to Spain to Britain, on all those places, trying to get these monarchs to finance him to go to find so-called New World, right? So at the end of the day, it was Ferdinand and Isabella were the ones from Spain. For Spain was going through a long war fighting the Moors. The Moors had settled in where you call in Spain for over 500 to 600 years, and so they were on the last of trying to run out the Moors. That is why even the ships that Columbus came with here, Christopher Colon, they were manned by black men, and black men. I want to stress it was black men who manned those ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina. It was black men from Africa, right, who were running and were directing what was going on in Spain. And eventually, the last part of the war against the Moors were in a place called Gibraltar, right? And eventually, the Spain ran them out, but Spain didn't have Isabella and Ferdinand didn't have much money in the war chest. So they had to ask the Jews, rich Jews, because Jews always have money because they always doing what? Buying and selling. Buying and selling. So once you buying and selling, you have money coming in and money
Yes.
going, right? So they
Which
were
is
able to
our culture, which is African Hebrew culture.
exactly.
Time there.
Exactly.
There.
Exactly. You know, so that is what was happening. So they were able to lend the crown in Spain money, which they took to build those to buy those ships, right? And then a lot of people were scared to come, but the black Moors were the ones who knew ship navigation. Because they were doing it for hundreds and thousands of years. So it was they who they hired to steer the ships, and um, and they did by taking it going west, going east to come back west. And they thought, as Columbus, because he was a damn idiot, he thought he was going to the east of India, and he ended up in what we now call the New World, which is what they call the West Indies, or we call now the Caribbean, and North America. Well, it wasn't basically North America because he never landed in America on the whole. Christopher Colon is a man called Americo Vespucci who landed here, Italian as well. But Columbus thought when he reached certain parts like North America, he never arrived in North America, right? He arrived in places like Haiti, right? Which when he saw remnants of Mansa Musa brother, who was called Abu Bakr the second, right? He's the one who reached to about 500 years before Christopher Columbus or Christopher Colon came to North America. He used to, they were traveling and they would send expeditions and they were trading with the Mexicans and the Incas and the Aztecs and so on, bringing back corn. There's still remnants of that corn in West Africa today,
Yes.
in Mali and so on.
Yeah.
It's a long
It's a
history.
long history, and
Yeah,
so it's
you
very
know.
important that we know our story from our perspective, because these books that we're going to talk about today are an extension of our story. And again, we are here reading Ras on the front line to ensure that we are the custodians of our story, and that as this Armageddon war unfolds, and again, I hold that World War III has already started. It's not all kinetic, which means the dropping of bombs. There's blockades. I just saw there's a comedian that has a show, Jimmy Dore, and I just saw on his platform that he was reporting that Iran had destroyed a weather making machine in the UAE, and since
Yes,
they destroyed that machine, it's been raining in
yes,
Iran because
yes,
there was a big drought in Tehran.
yeah,
From them time they were even
yeah,
looking at
yeah,
removing the capital city,
yeah,
and they said since they destroyed these radars, in UAE, the whole weather
Yeah.
pattern
Yes.
changed. So the war
Yes.
is taking many forms, you know,
Yes.
of
Yes.
attack and these things. So
You
we
see,
have
Iran surprise Iran surprise the big demigod. You
yes.
see?
Well, they're a civilizational state. Persia, when they
Yes.
come on to war, these regions are studying it on a different level. They were digging tunnels for 20 years.
For 20 years. 20
They
years
dug,
preparation.
yeah, they dug their
Preparation. You know?
whole military apparatus is about 500 to 800 meters under solid granite
Yeah,
rock.
yeah. They have a whole city
Yes,
underground.
cities,
You know?
cities. They have multiple,
Cities, correct.
yeah, multiple
Cities.
cities, railway
Yes.
connecting them.
Yeah.
You know,
And they're very brilliant people.
yes,
They're very brilliant people in terms of they have a certain type of or to them kind of they have in terms of civilization, in terms of
yes,
you know.
yes,
So as someone said, they didn't even they were not aware that in Iran, although Iran is a Muslim country, they still make wine.
yes,
They make wine in parts of Iran that it goes back to thousands of years ago. So as I said, Islam came to Iran, but they get captured by the wits and the culture of the people.
It's
And
true.
that was has happened in many instances where people invaded Iran and the next because even the Mongols they get caught up in the culture of Iran,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So and end up getting converted to their culture.
Yes, and I think this is gonna be a global sinkhole for money and resources. This is
But
where
definitely because it's the end is the end of what we'll call the petrodollar.
yes, yes,
The what they call the monopolization of the petrodollar. The
yes,
petrodollar probably will still exist to some extent, but it would not be in the same way as from 1973.
no,
And let me explain what the petrodollar is all about. All right, in a synopsis. Right, I'm giving a big economics class today, so be aware.
yes. This is a treat. This is a treat. Get your ital snacks. Get your meditation steady because the elder is going there with us today. Higher heights.
The petrodollar is that America made a deal, right? The U.S. administration at the time, which was basically Nixon, right? He and Kissinger, right, who was the Secretary of State at the time. They made a deal with Saudi Arabia that in the future, all the oil money would be sold, all the oil would be sold in US dollars. That is the only reason why the US dollar is king today. So they trade in US dollars, and when they buy, so they sell oil, petro, in US dollars. Any part of the world, they must whoever buying oil must pay for it in US dollars. Then they take that US dollars, and when it comes to bank it in America, and in addition to banking it in America, what also occurs is the fact that they also buy treasury bills. They also invest in American companies on what do you call the trading index or what we'll call Wall Street, you know. So when they do that, what happens is America could continue to pump to push out more US dollars and they go into debt. So America could now afford to have 800 bases across the world because and that push them into further debt. So instead of producing goods and services, they're more involved in terms of what military armaments. They're more involved in building US bases, and so on.
Treasury bonds. They're selling debt too.
Selling debt.
Yes.
What happened in terms of what we now know as West Asia? We call it some people call it Middle East at that time, but it's more shifting and as we also would call it North Africa. because it is part of North Africa originally. So what happened is, so you buy stock in American companies here, and you in Saudi Arabia, you take your money when the oil from the oil, you get paid in US dollars. So US dollars is something that is relevant to what the United States of America, right? So you take that money, you put it in US bonds. You take that money, you buy treasury bills and bonds and stocks and all those kind of things, and you get back in return big share. You get shares and you get profit, large profit, and but the money remains here. America now promised Saudi Arabia and those Axel states that they would give them what security, right? And for them there. So they set up satellite and they set up all the different radars and all the different things in these countries, right? With the intention of telling them they will give them security, have a security arrangement. But what this war brought out is that yes, it was like theater. It was like they rip off these people
Yes.
because at the end of the day, what is more important than their little brethren over here called Israel, right? So when they knock out all these places, they didn't expect that Iran will have such a solid strategy, right? And when they attacked them, they thought when they killed the Ayatollah and they killed his family and so on, and what they call a decapitated strike,
Yes,
right?
cut off the head.
Yeah, cut off the head. So that means it's hard for the body to move. So the body, that means they're dead. That means the people will go on the street now and be happy about what took place and so on, and therefore they're going to have a new regime coming into play. And that did not happen because apparently the Iranians have been planning, as we say, for over 20 plus years. So they have different levels of people in government. So if you lay off one layer, cut off one layer, there's another layer that go below. And if you kill that layer, there's another layer. So it's just, as I say, more Africans. If they kill Zulu, more Africans come in. So the same way they're killing all these leaders, but they have at the bottom different layers who replacing them. And
Yeah.
sometimes the replacement might be more horrible than the one that they just killed. Because now that they killed this Ayatollah, the former Ayatollah, his son now, he might be more, he might theoretically, he may say lift the indict, right? The indict what that the former Ayatollah have in terms of no nuclear. He might say, let's get in nuclear. Let's get out of that organization. We're gonna go nuclear now.
Yes, yes.
So
Stick up here, and I just want to say that we have the greatest comment section on the whole internet. Big up everyone in the comment section. Keep the book recommendations coming. We want to create that culture of reading, of study. We have one of the foremost Rastafari publishers on the planet sharing knowledge with us. So we want to create this space because as this Armageddon, we give thanks that the internet is still working. We don't know how much longer. There are going to be periods, for instance, in Iran, they cut off the internet. So those people who make a living from the internet, they get cut off. So we want to make sure that we have physical books because we don't know what stands in front of us. And Armageddon, this is a long war. This is not going to be over tomorrow. This is not, you wake up tomorrow and Babylon gone. This is a war of attrition that we are watching play out. And we as Rastafari, as Pan-African people, should be in preparation. So that is what we're doing. This is the Reading Ras on the Frontline program. Once a month, we come here, we discuss the works of the Pan-African legends. But remember, this is not just for theory. If your knowledge is not being applied, then it's vanity. His Majesty taught us that. So we have to apply the knowledge that we're learning in these books that we're buying from Frontline. And again, please make sure that every episode you set aside a budget and you buy the books, because we need Frontline to be in every African nation, a physical bookstore. We need the legacy to spread as we build the alternative to Robber Babylon. So that being said, Elder Sekou, let's go into the first book. We're going to interweave the geopolitics, but
Yes.
let's go into the first book.
The first book, I want to give honor and respect again to our dear brother, Dr. Walter Rodney, who they just had a symposium in memory of him at Brown University just a few weeks ago. And so basically, this book, Grounding with My Brothers, was first conversations or groundings, as we say in Rastafari, that were done while Walter was teaching at Mona in 1968, 1969, before he was banned from re-entering. And he was banned from re-entering because he had went to Toronto to what they call a Black Writers Conference. And on return, the Prime Minister at the time, or Prime Minister at the time, Hugh Shearer, who was the Prime Minister, he said that they put declared that Dr. Walter Rodney, or Comrade Walter Rodney, Brother Walter Rodney, should not return, because they were very scared of him, because while he was a lecturer at the university, he would go around to the different in the ghetto, more so to wherever Rastafari brethren and sistren is, right? Throughout Spanish Town and Trench Town and Coronation Market, and he would sit down with them and talk with them and teach them history of about Africa history and learn from them as well. It wasn't just a one-way road, because you'll find that a lot of Rastafari brethren, and Walter said, they were very much versed in African history. So he as a trained historian, also sat down with them and he learned. And that's why we call it groundings, because he was grounding with his brothers, sitting down with them, chatting with them, eating with them, probably take a little draw with them, and that kind of vibes. And this book is small, but it's just the consequence of that kind of conversation, going into the bowels of Kingston, going down to the roots, sitting down with the Naya man and the Naya woman, and listening to them and hear them talking about the importance of African history, especially since we and the Africans and in the Caribbean and so on are not what they call continental Africans. We are Africans, but we were not born in continental Africa. We were robbed and shackled and brought here by force, by the Europeans and some Africans who contended to make money by selling us and so on. So here we are. So this is Walter Rodney, Grounded with My Brothers. Is a special piece, and remember him because his Earth Strong just passed not too long ago. And we think that this is a book very important, because you need to know your past in order to be able to chart your present and to direct yourself into the future. So here goes Walter Rodney book. It goes for simple $16.99, and is a bit something I think all Black people, all African people, all Rasta people, especially the young Rasta man, if you want to know what was taking place in 50 years, 55 years ago, this is a good book to show you what kind of intellectual we need to be. If you're going to be an intellectual, you need to be what we call a grassroots intellectual. If you're going to be an intellectual, you need to be a revolutionary intellectual. Like who? Dr. Walter Rodney. Give thanks.
Yes, I. One of the keys I think about Walter Rodney is his seminal work, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and really showing how the slave trade, how colonialism stunted the economic development of the African continent. You know what I mean? So that is something that we have to really
Yes.
give thanks for Dr. Walter Rodney. So that would have been part of his grounding going
Yes.
into, because he used to seat up with enough of the elders, enough of our
Yes.
elders here
Yes.
used to recall fondly seating up with
Yes.
Walter Rodney. He used to come into the ghetto, and
Yes.
that at that time, being a PhD and all these things, you know what I mean? So it was a real education for the grassroots. And
Yes.
this book is one of the seminal books. So please let us
Yes.
purchase this book. We want everyone, the website dfrontline.com, difrontline.com. Put in your purchase. Remember, we always say we want to have black owned this, black owned that. We're buying these knowledge, but it's not us. Ras Sekou is a publisher of these works. He gets the rights. He puts out the books, binds them, and I mean, it might be print to order, but this is a foundation black owned publisher. And again, no one is coming to save us. And the same way that I ask for ones to become part of our monthly membership and support Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media, I'm asking ones to support Rastafari Independent Publishing. Because remember, we're building the architecture, and sovereign meanings that you own all of the aspects of your culture. It's not enough just to have the culture, but you don't own the aspects. So that means everything is in process. Soon we'll be off of even YouTube and these, and we'll have African platforms that we, own platforms. And yes, we might be on YouTube, IG, TikTok, all of that, but we also have our own Rastafari build platforms, one of our younger generation building out that architecture. So everything we want to have ownership over the supply chain of all of the things that we use and consume, and we educate ourselves, because you cannot let your enemy or people who despise you control your access to vital resources. That is something that is just logical. So we want everyone, again, support Frontline Books, buy the books. We do this once a month. Frontline is one of our sponsors. So their marketing budget is being spent here on the Lion Voice, and in return, we want to add value to them from our Lion Pride. Again, this is about the Rastafari community feeding itself. You know what I mean? So allocating some of your budget to make sure you feed the larger architecture of Rastafari, so that we can employ, both Lion Voice Network and Frontline should be able to employ young Rastafari people as interns, as other things. And until we can employ our young people, we're going to lose them, because they have to go out in the world. This is one of the fundamental mistakes that we have made as Rastafari and Pan-African family, is that we didn't build businesses. In the early days, in the Harlem Renaissance, there was business because of the segregation, and that's why those movements were so prolific, because during those times it was all black laundromat, this, that, law firm, dentist, everything, because we had no choice. So those things started to flourish. But in this time we went for jobs, we went for the salary, and not, a lot of our professionals are employees, or so we didn't build our own institutions, our own, and that was the fundamental flaw, that I think started happening post civil rights. But yes, grounding with our brothers, seminal work. Make sure the item support it, buy the book. Any final sound on this
Well,
work?
I want to combine Wrongly and My Brothers with the book you mentioned, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. And I want to say that that book is very profound, very scholarly written. Um, it it shows out the research that Professor Walter Rodney did, especially in Eastern Africa. You know, and basically the book shows you that how how neocolonialism worked now and how colonialism at the time back in the 13 and 1400s, how how the Europeans came and put us in bondage and then brought us to the Caribbean and what we now know as the Americas. And we worked hard so to build what you call the industrial empire or industrialism in the Western Hemisphere. And for no money. We didn't get our ancestors, whether they were in the Caribbean or whether they were in North America or whether they were in England, didn't get a dime. So it was like Africa, in the Caribbean, which the slave trade started before North America. So over 500 years, no money, no people didn't get wages. It was not until 1834 and thereafter when the slavery was abolished in the Caribbean, that African people, black people, were able to work and collect a wage. In North America, that didn't take place until 1865, when slavery was basically abolished, and so on. So, and yet, those who the plantocracy, the Bucky Master, still didn't see it fit to make sure that money was paid to the ancestors of the slaves. They didn't pay the slaves, and it still hasn't paid the ancestors of those slaves. So in North America, that is a problem. In the Caribbean, that is a problem. You having people like the King and Queen of England at the time saying that they shouldn't have to pay what do you call reparation because slavery was legal according to in Britain and in America and that kind of stuff, which is foolishness because it's a crime against humanity, right? So it just tell you that some of these people don't have any what they call some people call conscience. They don't have any conscience. The industrial system of America, the industrial system of Britain, the industrial system of France and Germany, they don't have no conscience. They don't care. So so a man like I think was Abraham Lincoln had said he was going to give the slaves 40 acres and a mule in North America, and then he died, and the person who took over as president, Andrew Jackson, he went back on reneged on the promise that Lincoln had made to the African people. So yeah, so combine Grounded with My Brothers with the scholarly piece of how Europe and developed Africa. And he had another great piece he wrote about Upper Guinea. So combining those, you have a brilliant man, Caribbean African, Caribbean black man, born in Guyana, Dr. Walter Rodney, Professor Walter Rodney. So we say support Walter Rodney, get a book, and how he show how he spent his time in Jamaica before he was deported and called persona non grata in Jamaica. Yes, give
Powerful,
thanks.
powerful, powerful work. All right. So, what is the next book that we have for
Yes,
April?
yes. The next book we had before, but I saw it needed to be, especially since Their Majesty was going to the Caribbean and we were remembering him. So I said that it was important to have this piece called Members of a New Race. And this was edited by one of our brethren who is now has joined the ancestor. Um, you had you had this book. He went to Malawi.
Yes, Rasta J. I knew Rasta
Isa J.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Yeah, and so
man,
he originally did this book.
powerful
So
angel. This was
I say that a book like this is like a black print for from the High Majesty Haile Selassie the First, telling you how to live, especially now I think it's so pointed, especially that you know, it took a Rastafari brethren like I and I who were able to work with some people in Malawi. I think Igbo from Third World was also there with him, and they put together this the trans put together this book into what we now know as, and we make it into a pocket book because we think that works like this is something you put if it's a man you have in your pocket, if it's a woman you have it in your bag. So you already if you're on the train or wherever you are in a meeting or you have a few minutes, you could pull up a point and talk about and read and be inspired of their majesty works. So everyone should get a copy.
This is
use it as a weapon, use it as a tool,
yes.
use it as a memory, it's something to remember their majesty with, and become a member of a new race.
This is a seminal work. For those of us who have been trotting for some time, this was before the Wise Mind, and yes. I think this book inspired the Wise Mind. As a matter of fact, it used to be yellow. Let me see if I have an original copy.
Yes.
One of the original copy.
Yes.
One of them will know, you know what I mean? I am the Reading Ras. So, you know what I mean? We try live it. And one of the things that I've started doing, family, this I'm sharing with the item. I start to read a chapter a day, the first thing I wake up, you know, from a book. Instead of grabbing for the phone, because sometimes that's what happens now. You look for your phone to see the time, see the, you know, whatever messages, and then you just get caught into the virtual world from your rise. So what I try to do now is really just grab a book after my semi-eyes is going to and just read and, you know what I mean, bring everything to a fullness. So we have to make the time to read, and this is a perfect book, you know, Members of a New Race, where you just fill your mind with some good food, you know what I mean, some words sound from Her Majesty. That's how I read the selected speeches the first time too, is in the early morning, just wake up, read a chapter, read a speech, you know what I mean. So these are things that help to get your mind right for the Armageddon, you know what I mean. So when you're out there blocking your sound, you're on the right frequency, because right now you want to be on the right frequency, you know what I mean, because you don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that means you have to in-tune your frequency for ride on that King's Highway, that Irvine path. 1,000 shall fall by my side, 10,000 by thy right side, and it shall not come nigh unto I and I, you know what I mean, at that time right now. So by feeding yourself the words of His Majesty, that is one way to help to tune your frequency, sharpen your mental capacity, you know what I mean, because we're mind, body, and soul. So when you read the speeches, it's good for your mind and it's good for your soul, you know what I mean. So make sure that we are in tuning, along with exercise, along with all of the aspects of the triumphant force, you know what I mean, mind, body, and soul, sun, moon, stars, man, woman, child, you know, the whole atom, proton, neutron, the whole triune, triumphant force. This book here is going to get you in tune with that, and you must have it um, in your personal thing. All of the lions, them. I was talking to my son today and telling my son, to be a man, you have to have a plan. You know what I mean? You can't be a man and you don't have a plan, period, you know? Or else you're a man frame. You have the body of a man, but you're a boy. 'Cause only boys have the luxury of just roaming around and, you know, no direction, experiencing the world. That's a boy's prerogative, you know, a young person. But from you become a man, you have to have a plan, because you're now supposed to lead a family. How can you lead a sister or a family and you don't have a plan for yourself or no direction? So to get your plan sharp, this book is one of those books, because His Majesty tell you everything what you need to do, in terms of how you need to think, how you need to approach the world. Right in this book, Members of a New Race, mightiful work. And it's available differentline.com. Again, family, be intentional. Even if you have the book, let's buy it and gift it to someone who may not have the book. So every month, the item know this show is coming. I want I and I to start to budget so that we can start buy books, circulate the books as well. These are our perfect gifts for family, brethren and sistren. Build your personal Trueberry. Every Rastafari brethren and sistren should have a Trueberry in their house. And for those who may not be Rastafari, you know, in Babylon they say library, we say Trueberry. So everyone should have that in their house, you know. Their personal bookstore. I have part of mine behind I, so that the item can see, and it's a joy, you know what I mean? It's a joy to have this knowledge, and access in the ancient form. And if you notice, when you look at a wealthy person house on TV, they always have a Trueberry as part of the mansion, because this is what wealth is about. It's not just your assets, it's about the knowledge that you accumulate over a lifetime and that you can pass from generation to generation. They robbed us of that during the slavery, and it's time that we restore that, through I and I own bravery. Haile Selassie the first. Any final words on this?
Yeah, what to say, the book is $12.99. You can get it for $12.99. If you're buying this along with Grounded and My Brothers, it'll get no free shipping. Will be free if you buy any of these two books, anything over $25. And I want to also indicate that Members of a New Race is very, very pointed in terms of, as Black people, as African people. It's very important that we know what we are about, what we need to do, where we are going, how we need to prepare our children, how we need to work together as a people for unity and unification, how we need to deal with the whole idea of colonialism, neo-colonialism, because one of our biggest threats at this point in time as African people, as Black people, especially in Africa, is the whole idea of neo-colonialism, which is the last stage of capitalism. And I'll draw an example. You know, there's a Nigerian man, we call him Dinko, how you pronounce his name, Brother Kwasi? Or he owns the refinery in Nigeria.
Dan Kote. Yes.
He put out money to build a refinery just around the time of what do you call what was going on in 2020. Was around that time he started to build a refinery, and he was going through Saudi Arabia, and he mentioned it to one of his Muslim brothers because he's a Muslim. And they said, no, you shouldn't put all that kind of money to build no refinery is a headache. We said I can't turn back now because at this point in time, I already put out X amount of billions of dollars already on this project, right? So the people say, oh no, that must be a headache and blah blah blah. Anyway, the refinery is now it's finished. Instead of Nigeria having to send their oil out in places like North America or even Europe for it to be refined and then have to buy it back into Nigeria, they now could refine. Now, not too long ago, the same Nigerians were trying to sell the oil that they're producing and now refining to Europe. Europe said, no, this oil is not good. It's missing something. Now, since the war started, the same people who told the Nigerian company thing, tell him they want his oil now. So why now they want his oil? So nothing was wrong really with his oil. What they were pissed off about or disturbed about was the fact that they were now sending the oil. They had to buy the oil from them, Dangote. They had to
Yes.
buy the oil from them instead of they
You
sending
pay.
the oil, making money, and then having to send it back, right?
Yes.
In a processed way. So
Yes.
so so I just showing you when the emergency say you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared because we if we leave it to the Europeans and America, we would send our stuff out and miss the biggest part of the profit making process,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
the downstreaming and the upstreaming of your product.
Yes.
You
And
know?
also mention that Dan Cote was also now selling that oil to other African countries. And they're very
Yes.
upset about that because
Yes.
he's now filling the deficit of oil from the Middle East.
Yes.
He's now becoming that producer because he had a vision of this coming too. He's a great
Yes.
Pan-Africanist in his own right, you know.
Yeah. Yes, well, right now that refinery is producing at least 650 million, 650,000 barrels of oil per day,
Yes.
which is a marvelous feat, right? So and coming, they'll probably be able to produce more, right? So what they want you to do, Europeans, America, and so on, they don't want you to produce. They want you to continue to buy. Take your material, like how you take your raw cocoa, and you send your raw cocoa, like you would do it with even coffee in Jamaica. You take your raw coffee and they want you to send it to them, right? Who never grew a tree of coffee in their life, right? Who don't ever see a coffee tree. They want you to send the raw cocoa or the raw coffee to places like Belgium, places like Germany. Then they have their factories, right? Which are going to process the cocoa or the coffee and turn it into what they call it, Milo or Ovaltine or whatever name they want to put it in a tin and then send it back to you for high cost. What are you doing for them? These people are creating employment, right? Because you're creating factories and so on. And from those factories, they can continue to have large amount of employment. While you know just selling the raw material and then going to buy it back at the end of the product. So you buying it at a high cost. So you could do the same thing. All you got to do is create your own machinery. The same thing goes for gold. The same thing goes for oil. You process instead of selling it out and buying it back from them. You process your own product for yourself, and that is what is disturbing those people running Europe That is what is disturbing those people running America, right? That why when they talk, they still thinking at all that people in the Caribbean is in their backyard. But I always tell people that the only reason why you have a lot of immigrants coming to America, right, is because America has come into these countries, whether it's in Africa, the Caribbean, in South America, and Central America, etc., and has created havoc, created a whole lot of unrest by exploiting the people there. So that is the only reason why. You could have a lot of people who would tell you, I know, who would tell you, I ain't leaving my yard in Jamaica or Trinidad or Barbados to come to know America. You can't even pay them to do that. But because of the destabilization of these places, that is why people come to these countries
Yes.
and so on.
Yes.
So, you understand? So, these are some of our realities. Neo-colonialism. And one of the things they must realize that the US imperialism, they don't treat their own people good at home. So the same, even the Africans or the black people in America, they treat them badly because you treat them badly, and that's why they could. Since you can't treat your own people at home good, they think they go treat you who in another place good. No, they're not. So we must be mindful, and this tells us about the neo-colonials and the neo-colonial minds set, and we had to be wary, and that's why we had to make sure when we have products, we deal with all the stages of it, from the ground into the processing plants. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. Mightyful members of Anuis. Again, one of the must have, along with the wise mind. Members of a new race is one of the must have.
1299.
Yeah, as Rastafari, but as a Pan African too, because we can't erase who Haile Selassie is as a Pan African. You know what I mean? And this channel is about re-establishing that connection, because even in the Pan African community, a lot of time they skip over His Majesty contribution and won't talk about how His Majesty was supporting the Pan African movement in the United States of America since 1919, before he even ascended the throne financially and otherwise morally strengthening. He was part of the uprising of the Pan African community here, both as a symbol, but also again as a sponsor and supporter, an advocate for the Black people of the world. So we definitely
we have to remember the song that Bob Marley sang called War.
Yes.
It came from a speech made by Haile Selassie I at the United Nations when he said, "Until the color of a man's skin is of no more significant than the color of his eyes, there would be war."
Yes, and people always use that as a kind of hippie kind of saying, but what they have to remember is also said that we Africans will fight if necessary, and we know we will win, and we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So because the Everywhere is War is actually the great poetry of Bob Marley who put that in, but His Majesty actually says that we Africans will fight if we find it necessary. So Africa is not going to roll over. That's what His Majesty is saying in this Armageddon that's unfolding.
But not only Africans, Black people overall is not going to roll over.
Exactly.
Black people overall, whether you consider yourself the continental African or not, but Black people overall is not going to roll over. This is a black man's time, black man, black woman time, right? This is when we say Ethiopia shall rise again, black man shall rise again.
Yes.
You know, so this is a black man and black woman time.
The stone that the builder refused become dead corner. So we give thanks. What is the final, the third book of
the final book is a very crucial piece written by by our ancestor Douglas Mack. And Douglas Mack, what is so important is that Douglas Mack was one of the Rastafari brethren who went to Africa, met their Majesty in 1961, right? Um, he was an what they call Mortimer Planner, who was the only dreadlock Rastaman on that first journey, along with what the next brother name? There was three of them, but two was Comsam and one was Dreadlock. And they went on a journey to Africa. They went to about 5 different African countries, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria. Can't remember two of the others, but they spent time. They met their Majesty. They also asked, mentioned their Majesty about coming to Jamaica to visit, and so on. So we must remember Douglas Mack wrote this book from his experience as a Comsam, being in the camp in um, in Warwicker Hill, being among Count Ozzy and so on, right? He this is why he wrote his book, so people could understand, as someone who grew up in the 40s and so on, had the privilege of going to Leonard Howell camp up in Pinnacle Hill and so on. So this is a very very crucial piece. It's like an autobiography as well, in terms of his experience within the Rastafari community. In this book, very very crucial, he mentioned the fact that when he went to Kenya and they went when they went to Kenya, they run into some brethren and sisters who were practicing the concept of Rastafari, but in a different. They had a church, and they had built a tabernacle, and in the tabernacle, they coming from Jamaica was like in awe, because the tabernacle that they built in Kenya was very much similar to the tabernacle that they had in Jamaica. And it just showed you to how we as Africans, though displaced in the Caribbean and so on, we had that, what they call that we could reach back in terms of being able to fit in and build a similar tabernacle. They never saw. Our elders in Jamaica never saw no tabernacle. They just, because of African retention, they were able to build a tabernacle. So when they go to Ethiopia, to Kenya, and they were surprised. But as one people, based on we never left Africa in terms of our whole mindset as a people. So this is a very crucial piece, from someone who was there, especially being born in early 1930s, and experiencing Rastafari. Although middle class youth, went to KC College and so on in Kingston, but he never forgot that Rastafari had a special place, and he was one of the early stalwarts, and had the chance of going to Africa twice, servicing the Rastafari community, both in 1961 and again in 1963. When 1961 the government assisted them, but in 1963 they raised the money on their own, and also came to Old York, New York City, where they also helped raise money for them to go to Africa to continue the mission, because Rastafari was under heavy manners in Jamaica, as what they could know as they call bad Friday, bad Thursday, right? When a lot of you call the Montego Coral Gardens incident, where a lot of Rastafari was told they were kill them on sight. You know what I'm saying? They bring them in as the prime minister or the premier at the time, because Jamaica wasn't had just gotten independence from Britain. So the prime minister at the time, he said, bring them in, dead or alive, right? So so we have to read From Babylon to Rastafari.
Yeah,
Only
man.
going now for 1695, a very strong book coming out from a Rastafari, one of our Rastafari ancestors.
Powerful book. I can tell the eye that this was one of the books as a young Ras, that had I so intrigued the brethren journey, getting to meet with His Majesty. And I actually had a chance to reason with him in real life. He came to Washington, D.C. He's now an ancestor. And I do give thanks, that he had the foresight to write his story. And this is why so many of our elders, I encourage the item, make sure you write down your life experience so that we can benefit, from that experience. Everyone should at least try write a book. Now that we have the technology and the things for self-publishing, and we this is also one of the reasons we want to build up Frontline, because not everyone is a publisher. Everybody stay in their lane. But if we have publishers and distributors who have the capacity, like a Frontline, then you'll have somewhere to put your book when your time comes. So again, make sure you support the platform. This is the revolution. No one is coming to save us. The revolution has an economic component, and we have to be strategic with how we spend our dollar. And part of that is supporting platforms like Frontline Books. One of the things I love the reasoning that's happening in the comment section. And Ras 7, one of our regular Lion Pride, big up yourself, was making such a great point about the monasteries in Ethiopia preserving the legacy of the Black Christ, and that those monasteries also have a heretical military purpose. That's why they're in these hard to reach places, well defendable places, and the plateaus and the mountains. Anybody can just reach there. That also comes from after the Muslim invasion as well. They were there from ancient time, but after the left-handed and the Islamic invasion almost destroyed all of the manuscripts and the churches. Ethiopia used to have gold-plated churches, with rubies. If you read The Conquest of Abyssinia, that was written, I have it here on my shelf. It was written by a Muslim explorer who accompanied the jihad. He said the wealth that and this was supported by the Ottoman Empire. The first time a cannon was burst, and it came from out of Harar. Iman Grand, or Grand the Left-Handed, as he was called by the Amhara and the Tigray. The closest Ethiopia ever was to being conquered was that invasion. And they tell you that almost, and even His Majesty refers it in the autobiography, that almost all of the knowledge of Ethiopia's past was destroyed. So from that, a lot of the original manuscripts were taken deep into these monasteries and protected by the monks. You can't go in there as a tourist, go see them. And this is why a lot of the scholarship on Ethiopia is off, and they'll tell you about manuscripts only dating back to the Middle Ages, because that's all the Ethiopians are going to show you when you come with your scholarship, is the things them that are more recent, the Asian history, including the testimonies that talk about the fallen angels, like you would see preserved in the book of Enoch. Those are protected and guarded in those monasteries, and these end time prophecies and all of those things are there in Ethiopia. Don't feel like the Ethiopian not preserve it. That is Mount Zion, is a fortress, and Ethiopians don't share with outsiders, don't care who you be, You know, certain thing it's just not gonna come a road. So we have to overstand that. So this is an extension of that ancient culture of us reading, building true berries, protecting the knowledge of our own story. And that is what the channel is about. That is what our partnership with Frontline Books is about. And that's why we're proud to be a platform where we can have our elder, Ras Sekou Tafari, come every month and share with us the 3 books of the month. But again, the elder should be seeing some uptick in his sales. I reasoned with the elder before the broadcast, and he said that, you know, he see 1 and 2, but it is not you know, how it should be. And he never said that, you know, because he's humble. I'm saying that it's not how it should be, because we want more of I and I to be intentional as we view. And if you don't have it, don't worry. I'm not talking to the I. I'm talking to I and I that, you know, you have a paycheck, you're working, you're allocating resources to different areas strategically, hierarchically. This is war. So we have to be allocating our dollars, how we're spending, how we're building. Again, I told my son, if you are a man without a plan, you cannot be a man without a plan. So each man, each sister who watch this platform have to have a plan for liberation. And part of that plan has to be to support and invest in our community institutions, whether that be Lion Voice Network. We're still only at 47 monthly subscribers. We need to hit 50. I'm waiting for 3 Fire Angels to step up so we can start our grant program. Or you're supporting our guests, or both, you know, because some of the items do both. Big up Ras Roots, big up Johnny Johnson, big up Ras Super, big up, you know, some of our hardcore Lion Pride who see the vision and have stepped out there to be examples. You know, their names are written in the history of this channel, and many more. You know, Ras 7. These are brethren and sisters, Super Citizen, Ras Pam J. These are people who are writing their name in the history of the uprising of this platform. And we're encouraging more to step out there boldly. And, you know, whether it's a guest, whether it's this platform, but building that economic base that's going to allow us to build the alternative to Babylon. They're crashing their system to bring forward the global reset. I and I have to build our alternative. And they say your hand is in the crocodile mouth, you take it out slowly. You know what I mean? Because you pull it out fast and it bite down by you, you know? So while in my sunbathe or the lion's mouth, some people say, you take it out slowly. So as we're watching the ramp up and the war escalate, we need for just, you know, neatly just take care of ourselves, build up the motherland and prepare, because again, this is a long war. We want to be where there is resources, you know, sunshine, solar energy, hydroelectric, where there is fruit trees, where we can heal the earth, because there's a lot of pollution that has been put into the continent, where we can use our brilliance as African people to be that Noah's Ark for the world, because there'll be a remnant of all nations that will also join us on the continent to preserve. You know, Mother Africa is where it started, and that is where it's going to preserve humanity. I strongly know that, and His Majesty prepared us for that. So these works that we're talking about all speak to that. So family, let's make sure that we're being action. I mean, we're taking action, that we are part of the solution, that we're not doom and gloom and whoa, Babylon have fallen. You know what I mean? You just feel like you're helpless and you're a victim. None of us are a victim. We are no longer lamb to the slaughter. We are the lion that come to conquer. And this is the lion voice. So Ras Sekou,
Yes,
how do all of these works tie into where we are in the Armageddon?
Well, at this point in time, I would like us to refer to the Honorable Marcus Garvey when he said liberate the minds of men, that you will liberate the bodies of men. So we want to eat. We need food. We need physical food. So we need to grow food for ourselves, rather than people growing food for us and determining what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat, right? But also we need to be mindful of what we put into our structure, our mental structure, as African people, as Black people, because what you put into your mind is very crucial in terms of how you see the world. Hence the reason today you have a war taking place that is going to affect all of us on the planet. Because if there's a nuclear war, we ain't sure if some of us will even survive. Probably some people say the next war will be fought with sticks and stones. The Fourth World War, if there's a fourth one, will be fought with sticks and stones. So think about that. So it tells you that at this point in time, we are at a crucial juncture in the world in terms of geopolitics. We're in a crucial juncture in the world when it comes to economics, because without economics, none of us could survive. We need money, right? We need money in order to continue, because everything you do in this life, once you're on this physical structure, right? You need money if you had to go to the grocery. We need money. We need to have to start thinking about how do we organize cooperatives? How do we organize businesses that owned by our own selves, right? Where if we have 10 people in a community, 20 brethren and sistren, 15 brethren and sistren. So I am saying it all. The onus is on putting your monies together. Those who have good credit, who have credit cards, they all come together and form a credit union. Those who don't have a credit card, they will put their time into labor. But you could rent a space on the corner for X amount of money. One person who have one credit card could rent it in the rent the space. Then you could buy the goods necessary wholesale, whether it's from where. The same places that hold food and them buying the food from. We can do it. We have Black farmers growing food and so on. We could buy the food, sell it back to your community at cheap prices. We need to do these things. We need to do these things. The time. I ain't saying we shouldn't party and we shouldn't have a good time, but we had to think about our own liberty, how we survive this Armageddon. It's not about the doom and all these different things, but we have to think about the present and the future. Those who are coming, the grandchildren, the great grandchildren, and so on. I already have great grandchildren
Give
in my
thanks.
you understand? So I'm
Congratulations.
thankful that I get see a third generation. You understand? So we can't joke in this arena.
No.
This is not a joking arena.
No.
We all always say, as Brother Kwasi say, no one is coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. So we have to remember all that is going on today. One of the most important things. A lot of people now going to be starting to stay home. Because a lot of businesses going to say, listen, people going to say, I can't afford to drive to go to work.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of businesses, the reality of it is, so they're gonna have to have people working from their home. They're going to probably start laying off a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
So
Because
we
remember,
have to understand.
this is
People
time
think this
with
is a joke,
AI.
but
Yeah, this is time with the AI revolution. So a lot of administrative jobs and these things are also at the same time. There are so many things converging. So there's going to be mass layoffs, mass price increase. And why? Because without the mark of the beast, they should neither buy nor sell. They're coming with a global reset to force.
But remember our brother Peter Tosh, who I spent time with in Grenada when I was working. He said the day that the dollar die.
Yes.
And we've seen the day that the petrodollar is dying.
Yeah.
The Iranians have said on the Strait of Hormuz, if you want to travel, you gotta pay $2 million in RMB,
Yes.
the Chinese currency.
Yeah.
So that is a strategy that they didn't see coming.
No.
And that tells you that if that continues around for the next X amount of months, X amount of years, you definitely seeing what? The decline of the US dollar.
Also, the Gulf states, the GCC, are the prime investors, one of the prime investors in the US stock market, in the AI.
Yes.
All of those, all of that petrodollar money, this was part of the deal, is reinvested in the United States in the market.
Yes.
So that money is no longer, because they cannot sell their oil any longer because of the blockade.
Yes.
So they're, I think the UAE
is dead. The UAE is dead.
Yeah, Qatar.
UAE is dead. They're begging to borrow money now.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, UAE is dead. If you want, I could pay for you I could pay for 3 months for you in a hotel in Dubai, $9 a day. So you want to go and stay over there, Brother Kwasi?
People are leaving. People are exodusing out of those places because they know that if the desalinization plants are hit in the GCC states, they're in deserts.
But between Israel and those West Asian countries,
yes,
if this desalination plant are hit, it's total devastation.
Yes,
total devastation, because they're surrounded by ocean, and they take the water, the sea-water, and transform it into drinking water. Yes. I mean, a lot of people doesn't, when you talk about desalination plants and so on, a lot of people don't realize that how crucial that all the technology has been able to transform seawater into drinking water.
To reverse osmosis, so they evaporate the water and then they have it there as H2O, and then the people can drink it. They treat it and they drink it. So if that technology is, and Iran has threatened to destroy all of the Middle East desalinization plant if the escalation continues. Again, we're saying all of this because we're already seeing the impacts. One of the major funders of the Sudan war was the UAE. And they no longer have the resources to fund their proxies in Sudan. So the ripple.
And if you notice the Sudan, some of the Sudanese rebel forces, they are now saying that they're going to fight and support the Iranian struggle, resistance struggle.
Yes. So all of this is interconnected. So this is why, again, sometimes we don't go too deep into the African conflicts, because again, a lot of them are being funded by either the Arabs or the West. These were the two nations that historically colonized the African continent, and they still fund the majority of conflicts on the continent. So once
we just saw recently the Israelis taking over the airport in Somali, what you call Somaliland.
Yes.
So all these things must be noted, that all those countries, the people are still, the neo-colonial forces are still fighting to control the resources in these countries or our motherland.
Yes, and this is all, again, Israel had a strategy that they created called the clean break strategy, that was based on Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 38, saying that they would destroy all of the nations that are supporting the resistance against their expansion, instead of going after the resistance in the Palestinian. They would destroy all of these nations, and the nations called in Ezekiel
Yeah,
or
and the whole
yes,
idea of the plan for Greater Israel,
yes,
which
exactly, exactly.
which means taking over what we call Lebanon, which was Lebanon was a part of
Yes,
Syria,
yes,
taking over Egypt, right?
yes,
Taking
big up,
over Saudi Arabia,
yes, Libya,
even reaching as far Iran and
yes.
also what we call Turkey.
Turkey, exactly. So
Mm.
all of these are the nations that are named in Ezekiel 37, 38. So we have to understand that again, they are looking at the prophecy as a roadmap to try to force the coming of a Messiah and the extinguishing. This is a fanatic thing that we're seeing unfolding, and years of laying the seed. So we speak these things so that the global family can prepare ourselves. This is not our war. This is not our fight. We are being tasked by His Imperial Majesty to build Zion, to build an alternative, to build that.
But we had to be careful because when we say Zion, we must know when we talk about Zion, we talk about Africa.
Yes.
We're not talking about the Zion that the apartheid regime
No.
in Palestine that control Palestine now is talking about. We
No.
must know we had to draw a line in the sand.
Sion in Ethiopian talk, they would call it Sion, Tsion. This was one of the titles of Emperor Johannes, King of Zion, and some of the Asian kings took that because wherever the Ark of the Covenant is, they call it Zion, which is the seat of the Almighty on earth. That was part of the culture. Ethiopians never conquered. So, people can argue all they want, but the results are there, The holy mountains never have fallen completely to colonization, even though we see now culturally, the white Jesus and these things have infiltrated even Zion, which was also foretold in the prophecy that even Zion itself would be overcome for a time. But what we have to understand now is that I and I, who are called after the name of the Almighty, have been tasked with the rebuilding or the building, because Zion is an internal. The kingdom of Jah is really internal, but we have to bring what's inside of us and make it manifest. So
I want to make a point, Ras,
yeah,
if I can.
Yes, go ahead.
A quick point before we close. In relation to the whole thing with the Muslims and Islam in Ethiopia, it's very sad because during the period of Muhammad, you had the early followers were in retreat and they had to go to Ethiopia to seek asylum. Who granted them asylum? The king at the time. He asked Muhammad if what was their religion, and Muhammad outlined the concept of the belief in one God and so on and so on and so on. And then the king of Ethiopia at the time, he said to Muhammad, you and I, we all believe in the same concept, which is if you know the Coptic, Ethiopian Coptic, which you now call the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one and the same. Their concept is a concept of one God, and so they basically had the similar the concept of religious customs and culture was basically the same, right? And the Ethiopians give them a place to stay until they were able to, so the Muslims were able to come back to Medina. I also want to indicate that the first Azan caller, they call it a prayer, which I probably would say I would say from my research that he probably was the one who founded Islam. But some people may want to take off my head for that. But he is the one who founded Islam, the man called Bilal, whose mother was an Ethiopian. And he was one who was able to read and write. And more than likely, the concept, because the concept of the Toledo church, which is not which you call the Coptic church or the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, that the concept when the Muslims went to Ethiopia, they were prostrating, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church prostrate similarly. And they were used to prostrate, the Muslims used to prostrate 3 times. When they left Ethiopia, they were prostrating 5 times a day. And you see the black, those people who prostrate, you see a little black thing on their foreheads, right? From hitting the ground. So so I just drawing that as a parallel to show you that it's very strange how they turn on the Ethiopians, because they had promised that they would not attack the Ethiopia. That was a promise they made to
Yes,
Muhammad
yes.
at the time, right? And so just draw another example. And I also want to draw a quick example of the so-called the Shiite Muslims. They stand and pray. They don't prostrate like this Sunni brethren.
Okay.
They stand up and pray, right? So that is one of the main difference in that formation and so on.
Yes, yes. Well, give thanks. This was another classic episode, and I think we're gonna continue with this format because as we go further into this Gideon and the geopolitical chessboard moves, I think there's no one better to have these reasonings with than our elder, who has been watching this, from the 60s. Our elder Sekou Tafari. So we're gonna keep that aspect of the program, so you can share with your brethren and sisters, because we have to know where we are, how to position ourselves, because it's having real world effects. You know what I mean? The cost of food, regardless of who you are, where you are, you're gonna be impacted by the cost of fuel. They're starting to cancel flights now because of the cost of jet fuel. So, the way that we move and travel around the world is going to be impacted. So this is, part of the thing that we may have to act for charter flights from African nations to be able to move people to the continent, because it becomes so expensive. So we need to really look at what's unfolding in front of us. And as Rastafari independent non-aligned media, we cannot be afraid to touch these topics. And we have to also connect the books that we are sharing with the item, so we can see the relevance to what is happening today and why you need to know the history, build up yourself so that you are sharp and you are focused and you are prepared to deal with what is ahead of us. Again, building your true berry, spending the money. We want Frontline Books in every African country. We want African bookstores, Pan-African bookstores in every African city. And as Rastafari strategically, Frontline is, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Let us support our institutions that exist. And there is none like Frontline on
And
this.
I want to say, Ras
Yes.
Kwasi, it's important, very important, very vital as Black people, as African people, as Rastafari people, that we build our true berries.
Yes.
Why is it so important? It is important because every time the conqueror tried to conquer a country, when they went into Kemet, what we know as Egypt today, one of the first things that they did is try to conquer the true berry, what they
Burn it
call the
down.
library.
Yes,
Right?
burn it down.
They're going to Timbuktu, one of the old ancient cities where you had universities of Timbuktu and all these different other universities. What they try to do, they try to read some of these manuscripts and so on. So be mindful. It's important for you to have your own a nice collection of your true berry.
Yes.
And remember, if they want to read a book, let them come and read a book at your yard.
Yes.
Give thanks.
Give thanks. Give thanks. So there you have it, family. Another classic edition of the Reading Ras on the front line. Thefrontline.com. Go and buy your books. support our elder, support institutions within the voice ecosystem and the greater Rastafari ecosystem. Stay tuned. We have whole heap of content coming. Medicine, the steady one. His episode is gonna drop the first clip on Monday. Wadi God, the full episode gonna drop Monday. We have so many. We have Dawe Congo, we have Rasai, we have whole heap of artists interviews that we have loaded and that are getting ready to drop tomorrow. We have our town hall meeting. That link will go out to our Lion Pride and Patreon family 1 p.m. We're expecting a special guest there to talk on moves, because as we get into the Armageddon, we're going to be, not everything we're going to share on the main channel. Some of the things is for the inner circle. We're going to reason, and the collaboration, the communication, there are different levels of the ecosystem. So tomorrow we'll have our internal Lion Pride Town Hall meeting. Big up everything. Ras Pamj, we're going to be having an interview with one of our Lion Pride from outer Liberia. And May for us is African Liberation Month. So all the month of May, we're going to have African voices. We're going to be reasoning with our brethren and sistren on the continent for the month of May. So you'll see more episodes on the strong end because of the time difference. We're going to touch base with our brethren them in Kenya, South Africa, West Africa, all over for the month of May. So stay tuned. The Rastafari and Sierra Leone, we want to tap in with other areas on the continent to find out what's happening and how we can link and how we can invest and start to build an economic base on the continent where we're going, working with our brethren and sistren who are on the ground. While the dollar still have power, we want to start sending it there and converting it into touchable assets, land, equipment, partnering. Agriculture and construction are the two areas we have identified strategically, globally, as two industries that we need to have a major presence in. Food and shelter, those are essential in the building of the alternative to Babylon and as Rastafari. So you're going to see a lot of content on those two topics on this platform as we fulfill our duty as Rastafari independent non-aligned media. So there you have it, family. The Lion Voice Network is here. Also, we are 3 people away, 3 Lion Pride and Patreon members away. Join for $10 a month. We're trying to hit 50 for the first time for the life of the channel. The channel is almost at 1 million views now for the life of the channel. 1 million anything is powerful. I think we touched 975,000 views for the life of the channel. 4 years. We're about to hit 1 million. Give thanks to each and every one of the items. We also have just hit 69,000 subscribers. So big up to the Lion Pride, 69,000 strong. Again, we want 50,000 to spend $10 with our guests. That is our goal. And when we hit that milestone as a channel, again, we may need to get to 1 million subscribers before we hit that. But when we hit that, that is when the world will know the power of the Lion Pride, when we can move $500,000 in a day, in an episode, and capitalize our businesses and show that power. Every mickle mecca muckle philosophy, the 1-1 cocoa full basket revolution, that is when we'll be able to demonstrate the power that we have in the platforms and collective security. So the elder can call and say, Ras, we just got $500,000 worth of orders last night. You put me in a problem of fulfillment. That's the call I want from that's the call I want to get. So we're working on getting there, and give thanks, Ras Sekou, for having your trust and coming on board early, not waiting till it reached 1 million subscribers, but coming on early and spending your money with a Rastafari business early. I really just want to publicly give thanks for Frontline Books, always on the front line. And it's an honor to be on the front line with the eye. Any final song?
Yes, sir. Just at this point in time, I need to be very much be mindful of who you are and what you are in this struggle. Because it's a Ras struggle. So just be prepared, you know, and self-reliance is the most important thing as you go forward in this life.
Yes, I. So there you have it, family. And join us Wednesday. We're gonna have a recap from the Envision Cannabis Conference. I was there in the physical. Whole heap of things are happening for Rastafari internationally. So you know that we're going to continue to rise with your support, and we will not stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion Voice.
Yes, I.
This is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the power to chant. Jah give her the power to chant. Rastafari, the Lion's Voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story.
No
No surrender, no retreat. We are Jah soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it. I Jalifa said that.
Greetings, this is Ras Sekou. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Ras Sekou said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
African pride, root of all nations, boy. I tried with the lion, the Rastafari. Lion of it tried with lioness like I too. Empress on the front line, we need you.
Well, this is Medicine, the steady one, and you are now tuned in to the Lion's Voice Network. What the lion fought for do? Scorch them. Roast and parch them.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Empress Manel, and I young scientist. Your role universally unfold, be told. Blessed love, this is Itege Idama, and it's time for the lioness and the lion's voices to be heard. This is the Lion's Voice, Rastafari.
Yo, blazing fire, yeah man, this is Ras out of Belize. And the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, right? Yeah man, we blaze fire, burning the wicked and the dirty vampire. Yeah man, Ras said that, blazing fire, lion boy.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up, blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari live it. Hey, hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.